Yeah.
Proper Duck Games on Twitch asks, "What's the number one reason that makes you quit working on a game?" For me, I would say scope. Scope is by far the single reason I've quit games. I like to make games. I make a lot of games. I haven't in the last year or so, but I've made a couple dozen games, and almost always when I quit, it's because the game has gotten too big for me. I think the other part of it is because of my experience with scope now, I can kind of identify when a game's going to have a larger scope even before I kind of get knee deep in it. And so a lot of times I will shelve games knowing what the scope is going to require before I even kind of head down that route. But I like to prototype a lot, so that kind of makes sense.
I think for me, the thing that has me quit working on a game is when I solve the initial what's fun about this game, and then it just becomes a conversation about content. So what I mean by content is more characters, more levels, more story, more progression.
The
And so
slog.
if I'm trying to make for example, I quite enjoyed making the Tilevania game. So in our 2D Unity course, we have a showing how to use tile map in Unity. Really enjoyed it. Here's the platform. Here's the character. It took a lot of time getting the jump feeling good. And here's the jump distance. And I have a thing there and a thing there. And I can jump from there and have some spikes and land on the spikes. That's cool. So I'm like, yeah, this game feels kind of cool now. Okay, now I just need to go and turn it into a 5-hour experience with enough levels and enough enemies, enough progression, and enough cool kind of
Content.
puzzly challenges. I don't want to do that. So I think for me, I'm a serial prototyper is what I've always had throughout my entire career. Come up with the idea, prototype the mechanics, play around with it so the moment feels good. And when I've done that, I'm like, that's it. That's the game. I'm happy with that. I don't really feel compelled to turn it into that commercial experience where it's got enough oomph in it to be able to sell. And maybe it's because I find that that's the hard part as well. You spend.
It is 100%. That's exactly where I'm at with Battleborn, by the way. Because like I've got the game done. I just need like all the modes and the progression and the meta progression and the options menu and all the stuff, and that is the slog between the fun designy stuff and launch day. And it's just so much stuff. And then you take into account a lot of the stuff that happens like pre or post launch, like barely pre or post launch, which is like localization updates, platforms. Yeah, that stuff is just soul sucking, man. Like nobody wants to sit there and like port a game to like a different platform and make the UI look slightly different and add different, but that's just not game design to me, right? That's just like boring programming stuff. So 100%, you have to be careful of that if you want to actually launch a game. You have to really understand how big of a deal that is.